Hello, Megan.
Hello, Michelle.
Welcome to the Spicy Brain Podcast, where we are navigating neurodiversity with curiosity, joy, and
radical acceptance. High kick. I have to say high kick.
Those.
I have to say high kick really from Mom was like, what are you saying in that? I'm like, high kick. She had no idea. Okay, sorry. High kick.
High kick, Mom. Well, we are so excited for those of you who are joining us for the first time. And for those of you who are returning, we love you so much. We love our community. Yes. We get so much good feedback and ideas and all of that together. We usually try to delve into some sort of a book, and then we come up with either some kind of a scenario or a discussion topic, and then we dive into that brain of Megan's, her spicy brain, or my spicy brain sometimes, never know. Mm-hmm. And then we usually think about strategies, but we're not always good at the strategies part, so we'll be honest.
That's true.
We're just sisters. We're not professionals. We just do our best with this, right?
Although, caveat, I am a professional ADHDer.
Oh, are you?
Yes. I have a professional degree in ADHD. I've spent 40 years doing it, and I feel like I am a professional at it.
I have over 40 years experience being someone who's lived with an ADHDer too, so we both are professionals. I love it.
Right.
So we've been diving into this book, and this is sort of our last one, which is bittersweet. I think, but Your Brain is Not Broken. We've been doing this one forever. And Your Brain is Not Broken by Tamara
Rosier.
Rosier. I think I finally got it. PhD.
Took the whole book for you to actually get it.
I'm dyslexic, and so it's always that, I don't know. Is it French? I don't know, something anyway. But I just wanted to call her Rosier because you're Rosie, so.
That's true. Is that what I'm saying, Rosier? Maybe it's just my little lisp. I don't know.
I don't know. It's
Rosier.
So good. Rosier. Anyway, so we're kind of in this last chapter, and I wanted to talk about two things with it. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is the chapter itself is called Dancing Through the Day, Hacks for Adulting. Mm. Okay, so I want to talk about the word adulting a little bit.
Okay.
And then the second thing we're going to talk about, and I'll bring it back up, you don't have to remember it, is she uses a process called mental rehearsal. And I want to talk through that a little bit. So in this chapter of Dancing Through Your Day, Hacks for Adulting, she talked about sleep. She talked about peak times. And these were kind of triggering topics, right? Mm-hmm. So we've decided we need to do a whole book just about sleep and ADHD at some point. And we'll come back to peak times some other time.
We didn't really find any resolution with that because it's so hard for me.
Yeah.
And I think
I think people can relate. I think people can relate to that. I definitely know that Taryn related. She was saying the sleep piece, how hard. She said it sounded so hard for you in the last podcast. And I was, understanding. She I think had, it's not that I didn't empathize, but I think she has this deep visceral understanding of it in a way that maybe I don't. And so I think that one was a little bit harder for me to hold space for you in. So I'm sorry. I wasn't quite at my best with that. But I wanted to talk about adulting.
We do this.
What?
I just want to quickly say that's why we do this. Because I think that if you don't have ADHD, you just fundamentally don't understand how hard it is. And so that's why I'm thankful that you do spend the time to try to understand this, because I think that every single day and every single time we do this, your empathy grows for me. And also it gives us an opportunity for us to talk about it, and a space for us. I mean, we just had a whole conversation, you and I, offline about all of this. And it was probably the most productive conversation you and I have had about an issue that the two of us are going through.
Yeah, I agree.
And
so we were talking about how important it is that I'm in a allowing for a safe space for you to talk about these really hard things. And that if I'm stressed or I'm not in that space, it's not always a safe emotional space for you to have to navigate. And so it's we each have a role in this, but it's really important, right? And we were kind of able to talk about it, I think, adults. Speaking of adulting, it was very adulty.
Speaking of adulting, it was very adulty. Like I didn't, and I think this is the hard part. Like when you're talking with family, and this is for any of our listeners, like if you have family or just even friends that you've known for a really long time, anybody who's like been with you since you were young, the challenge is that like there's like all these emotional landmines that you're gonna walk across, and and so like we're talking about this and we're both being curious about this, but the reality is that like a lot of the traumas that like both of us have endured happened while we were living together as sisters. And so, you know, we're accidentally walking over each other's landmines. And as your friend said so beautifully, like you just ran over my butler. Your butler ran over my butler. It's such a, like, it's just, it's like not, I know it's not on purpose and it's not, you know, it just happens. And so like, I think being able to actually break it down and talk about it and then have an honest conversation about it is such a useful tool. So I think
so hard to do.
So hard.
Right. Because we had to talk for like an hour, and the first half hour, you know, it wasn't feeling that way. And then the second half hour, I think we kind of came to a more understanding of like, this is really hard conversations. And this book specifically has been really tough because it's getting at the emotional undercurrent, which I don't know is talked about as much as I think it should be. And I have found her book very helpful, but also hard because sometimes the way she says things aren't quite clear to you or not quite clear to me. And we have to really like dig into it. So I wanted to go back though to the adulting piece. How did you feel about that title of it, which was... I don't know. I didn't ask that when we first started, and I was curious. Dancing Through the Day, Hacks for Adulting.
My first response is dancing through the day, and I'm just like, seriously, I have to dance through the day. Like, oh, okay, I'm so happy for you that you're dancing through the day. It sounds like your day is just so amazing, and mine's not. Right? So like that part to me feels like there's and she may not even mean this, but my initial instinct is that there is a judgment being put on adulting, that like if you're actually doing it, you're going to be happy. And so, and I was just talking to my therapist about this because I got to see her in person while I was in Tucson. And I just like, my whole thing I was telling her was like, okay, so I feel like I'm going to like, when do I feel like my life is good? You know, when is it that I get to feel like I'm happy all the time and like I feel like fulfilled and I'm doing all these things? And she's like,
you've self-actualized.
And she's like, Megan, no one feels that way. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, no, I'm sure people feel this way, right? Like, I'm sure someone's dancing through life, you know? And it's like, no one's dancing through life, Tamara. I know it's a beautiful idea and I would love it to be, but it's so much pressure. And her whole thing was like, you know, you don't wake up thinking like, this is thing that like that. This is like the fulfillment that I'm doing today. It's like, it's not, that's just a fallacy that we've been spoon fed with movies, I think.
Yeah.
So,
and I also kind of wondered, I was kind of wondering also about the adulting part. Like the word being used like as though you're kids. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or childlike or something. I don't know.
I mean, it's so interesting because like I had just made this like video that I was working through about sleep because I was like, okay, we're going to work through it that way on YouTube instead of like, we'll figure it out. And then, and a lot of the, like, I would ask ChatGPT like, hey, could you give me an analogy for like this one thing? You know, just like, what's your first analogy to kind of help me understand it better? And a lot of the analogies were childlike. It was like, it's sort of like, you know, asking like giving a toddler a crayon. You know, at work, at a restaurant, because it like, it keeps them busy. And I was like, okay. And then there's another one was another, like giving a toddler something else. And I was just like, oh my God, am I the toddler? Like, are you saying that because I'm ADHD? Now I'm getting incensed about it. Wait, are you saying that because I'm ADHD, I'm not an adult?
You're yelling at your AI, telling it.
Like yelling at Kayla. Like, Kayla, what are you doing? I didn't call her Kayla that day. So maybe that's something to be aware of. But yeah, it does feel like there is this idea of adulting and that there are specific things that you have to accomplish in order to be an adult.
Yeah.
And they inherently are not the things that ADHD people do well. So is this like a, oh, what do they call it? Is this like a gatekeeping type of a thing? Oh, now I'm getting riled up, Michelle. I'm getting fiery. Like, let's go.
Well, the reason I brought it up and I was wanting to be curious with you about it is I kept getting this feeling as we were in, and this is sort of the last chapter we're going to do from this book, but I kept feeling this like pushback, in even the questions I was asking based on what she had brought up or the examples that had been brought up. And I was wondering if it was sort of, is it like even a goal, right? Like she's talking like sleep. Well, yeah, right. I mean, there's something like that's so beautiful about everybody that I know with ADHD is that they're not. I'm like the most adult. Like I was adult at 5. You know what I mean? Like I'm not interesting in that way. I'm not and it isn't bad, but it's like, I don't know. I keep going back to the show, The Munsters, and I'm not trying to make anybody with ADHD say like you're a monster, but like The Munsters, it was like, there was all of these like really interesting characters. And then there was like the one gal who was like the banker, and she was the pretty one-ish, right? Whatever. And she was the like normal, quote unquote normal, but she was the odd person out because everyone else in her house was basically like ADHD, right? Was like completely creative and awesome and whatever. And I was like, is it the goal? Is the goal to sleep really well? I don't know. I mean, is the goal to like figure out your peak time? I mean, I don't know. I think if you're trying to fit, and she does, right? This author has to fit into this normal 8 to 5 world because she's doing that kind of work. Yeah. Although if she's working with people with ADHD, she could probably do her sessions at night. Right? Yeah. There's no reason. But anyway, point being, I don't know. I just was wondering. Okay, so this, yeah.
Well, adulting. I wonder if it is, like if you have straight hair and you like curly hair, and like if you have curly hair, you just want straight hair. Like maybe it's because you were always an adult. You're like, I'd like to be more childlike. And since I'm like always childlike, I'm like, I probably should be more of an adult. Because like Brian and I do joke where we're like, we get things done and we're like, we adulted. Yeah. But it is kind of a pejorative phrase. I mean, if you think about it, like it's who's deciding like that you're an adult? If you're making it through life and you can keep a roof over your home, like you're an adult. Good for you, and
well, it's like I was like, well, who cares if your socks are sorted or whatever, right? Like it doesn't, if that's something like it's
is that what people think adults are? Your socks? Because this is the other thing, right? Like, oh my gosh, Michelle, because ChatGPT was like, oh, like if you're like organizing your socks or something, I'm like, wait a second. Is there an adult like like a list of like these are the things that make you an adult and like sorting your socks? I feel like if I'm wearing clean socks, like that is me being an adult. But even if I don't, like, okay, at least I know I'm not wearing clean socks.
I think being an adult is like taking care of like the thing, the in my mind, right? Like this is always what I think of. When people say this, they're like, it's like keeping a home, organized and orderly or something, or it's like paying your bills on time. I think there's things that are very important in life, like paying your bills on time probably really does actually matter. And thank God for all this automated stuff nowadays, honestly. Right. But I think about for the rest of it and I'm like, I don't know. I think it's some kind of like you said, sort of a fairy tale almost, or sort of this like thing that everyone's aspiring to. And I know I like to keep things orderly because it helps me, but I don't actually think it helps you all that much. I mean, it doesn't do that much for you. You just don't see it, and like, I'm like always making Josh like clean his room every Saturday. Right. And then I think to myself, like, who's that for? Is that for him or is that for me? Right. Like, I mean, obviously we want to keep mice at bay and stuff, but there's that piece of it that you don't want things to be to the point where it's, unhealthy for you. But other than that,
I think it's like helpful if you to not be overwhelmed, because like ADHD overwhelm is huge. And so
yeah.
I can see parts of that, like having less stuff or having things like semi-organized. Like, I have a place I put my socks. I don't sort them. I have a place I put my underwear. I don't fold them.
Right.
But they go in that spot. And so like I've created a place for them. I've created a home for them, but how they live in that home, like, oh, I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. So anyway, I just think this is a very a term that's like really used a lot.
Yeah.
And I think has a lot of meanings. And I just was curious from your standpoint. And I think I don't know. I think it's good to define what we mean by adulting. And
it's adulting.
Like being functional? A functional human? I don't know.
I'm trying to be curious about this, because when I think of like being an adult, I guess my question is like, what kind of adult do you want to be? So yeah. I think that there's different categories of adult. And as long as you're not harming others or yourself, and you are like taking care, like, and your bills are paid, like however you do that. I mean, there are some people who, they're trophy wives, and they're like, they got their bills paid for. Good for them. Like
I really should have thought about that one more carefully.
I know, really.
Our grandfather always would say, Michelle, you can love a rich man just as much as you can a poor man. And I was like, dang. Never truer words were said.
I mean, I think it really just depends on what your values are. And if are you sticking with your values but like, all of these, I think this is the one of the downfalls of social media, is that there's so many more people who are saying, follow my way of doing the world and follow my way of adulting. Well, some people, their way of adulting is overconsumption. Some people, adulting is like living in a van and living the van life, or living in a mini home. So I think it's like whatever your love is. And I actually want to go back to this real quickly, because like, I think this is like, what is your goal in life? And I think this actually does tie into the adulting part, because like what Tamara says is that there are two different types of goals. There's an outcome-based goal, and there's a solution or a process-based goal. And so for instance, like if I have like a Lego kit that I'm putting together, my outcome-based goal would be, I'm going to finish this Lego kit this evening. Whereas a solutions-based goal would be, I'm going to put 2 bricks together. So if my goal is for solutions as opposed to outcomes, then like I'm going to be happier in life, because like I can still keep moving forward, right? Like I can say, I'm going to organize the garage, and that is an outcome-based goal. And that's what adulting means. I'm going to organize the garage. Whereas like adulting for me means I'm going to go to this specific closet and spend 15 minutes working on this closet. And that's my goal for being an adult.
And so that's interesting, because when she says like dancing through the day, that would allow you just said it would make you happy to know you did that solutions-based thing, that I put 2 bricks together, or I spent 15 minutes. And so does that relate to this idea that maybe like adulting means like finding a way to get through your day where you're feeling more joy or more happiness than not? Or
I think it is going through your day without beating yourself up. So I get what she means by dancing, because like dancing is very light and airy and like happy. And that means that what is it you're not doing? You're not beating yourself up. And I beat myself up like the drill sergeant. Can I get through my day without the drill sergeant getting on my case?
Yeah.
So if my goal, if the drill sergeant is there to tell me about my goals, and I've told the drill sergeant, hey, drill sergeant, I'm gonna clean out the garage today. Then the drill sergeant's going to be like, at the end of the day, when you haven't finished it, what the heck's the matter with you? Get that done. Like you suck. Like you're the worst. And it's going to be bad. Whereas if I tell the drill sergeant, hey, I'm going to spend 15 minutes on this little closet inside the garage. And the drill sergeant's like, hey, you did that today. Good job. You got that thing done that you told me you were going to get done.
That makes a lot of sense to me. So you're like setting the expectations for the drill sergeant to be something that's more attainable.
Yeah, that's doable.
Like something that like, okay, that's like a reasonable thing I'm going to be able to do.
Right, because if time blindness is a very real thing, saying I'm going to clean out the garage, that's ridiculous. Like no one can clean out their garage. And I have a good friend who's listening who tried to do that and didn't do it in a day. It took her like multiple days. And so, you know, like I think that's the key is like, what kind of a goal are you telling yourself? And like, what, when you're talking about adulting, what does adulting look like for you? And it should be solutions or process based. It should not be an outcome.
Interesting. And I think what's interesting in her chapter, she talks about it would make sense that the better you are able to sleep, however that happens, we need to dig in more, but that you would be able to tell your drill sergeant more reasonable things because you would be in a more reasonable state of mind, right? And that if you knew when the best times for you to do that kind of work were, that might be helpful.
Yeah, that might be the next step. Yeah. But like, think about it, Michelle, like the kitchen. We all know the kitchen is my nemesis.
Yes.
Man, I have a lot of nemesis. A nemesis, a nemesi.
I don't know.
I have a few nemesi. I'm saying sleep is a nemesis. Okay. Back to what we're talking about. The kitchen. I would initially say before going to bed, like, I got to clean the kitchen. And then I shifted it, not realizing this is what we were doing, but I shifted it to, can I put the cups away?
More process oriented.
Yeah, the cups seemed doable. I was like, yep, I can put the cups away. And if I can just put the cups away, bam, I feel like I've like done more tonight than I would have done. Because the idea of like cleaning the kitchen was just so daunting. Like instead of the word like, hey, Megan, go vacuum. Right. Okay, Megan, can you just pull out the vacuum and do like this little square over here? Can you just get that part done? Yeah, I can do that. That seems reasonable.
I love this because I think this ties into the second piece, which is this like mental rehearsal. And what I like what you're saying, I think, if I'm hearing it right, is you kind of limit your mental rehearsal. Like mental rehearsal is like that idea of like either visualizing or telling yourself how to get through something so that it goes well when you do it, right? Like visualizing yourself being successful as you're going to do a public speaking event. Like that ADHD people, she says in the book, tend to like rehearse the opposite. You actually do mental rehearsal, but you're rehearsing like how everything's going to go bad and go wrong. And so it's like, can you rehearse what's going to go right? And for you, it's like, I know rehearsing that I'm just going to put those 2 cups away is going to help me to be successful. And it's probably going to propel you to do more than just that, but that you're not like trying to rehearse the entire act of doing the dishes because that will stop you.
Yes.
Right. And so you've like figured out, it sounds like you use mental rehearsal. It's just like, okay, just this one little part.
Yeah. Cause like, I always say this actually, even with, public speaking or like if I just know my first line, I'm fine. And a lot of people like that they're not like that. But like for me, if I just know the first line, I know, especially if I have to go and do something kind of off the cuff or I have to go talk to people, like I'll rehearse a bunch of ideas that I want to say. But if I just have to have that first line memorized and then I can go in and make it happen.
Okay, so I'm going to bring up this part of the book that I actually wrote in my notes. Does this resonate with Meg? Okay.
We're going to find out, folks, because it may not.
It may not.
And that's okay.
And that is okay because, again, everybody goes through this in such different ways. But she said for her, this strategy of kind of like mentally rehearsing, for example, going to a party or an upcoming event that might be hard for her. Okay. Like it doesn't feel like great. If she doesn't rehearse it going well, then this automated level 3 health rung state is her normal ADHD. She said her normal ADHD state of mind and body, which tends to be a bit frenetic, like, or it's like looking for all the possible things that could go wrong. And so she said when she stops herself and says like, okay, I'm going to this event, I'm going to walk in and I'm going to, be saying hi and I'm going to like look for the people who are engaging or whatever it is, right? That actually helps her get to that place and then know like, okay, I have sort of a plan in mind of how it's going to go well.
Interesting. I actually don't identify with that part of the rehearsing, but when you were saying that you rehearse everything that's going to go wrong.
Yes.
So I have noticed that I rehearse things after they have happened. And if something goes wrong, I can't stop thinking about it. And I keep rehearsing it back and forth in my head about how that thing went wrong. So that the next time it happens, that is an instant like tape that goes through my head. I wouldn't have said that I'm like sitting down and thinking through it clearly. Like it is purely it's like you're taking the clip and you're putting it on 4 times speed, and it's just like blah, 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 and you remember everything you just happened and it all happened so quickly. But then that feeling that I would have when I was rehearsing it after the fact is the feeling that I'm walking into that situation with.
Yes. And that is, she describes that as the autopilot. We've been talking about the health ladders, and there was like survival, and above that's autopilot. And I was like, oh, I had this huge like aha moment of like, I did not think that's what she meant by autopilot. But she was saying that this is connected to that in her mind, or at least from how I read it. I mean, but this idea that you sort of have this rehearsed thing that's negative in your head. And so then if you're not like consciously trying to rehearse it differently, that then maybe that's going to stick, right? Like you almost have to like create a new neural pathway.
Michelle, like remember how, I hope it's okay we talk about this, but like, how like we were talking before, like where I was saying that I get interrupted a lot. And like it's not necessarily like a bad or a good thing. That just happens for me. I think that like that response that you see in me when I get interrupted is this exact thing we're talking about happening. I've rehearsed in my head all of the times that I have said something that didn't go properly or didn't, wasn't correct. And then that's what I think stops me. And so that's what she's saying is the autopilot then?
I think so. Yeah. She's saying like, unfortunately, most of us with ADHD have used mental rehearsal to practice behaviors we would rather avoid.
Oh, like, yeah.
You're practicing the thing in your head over and over again that you did that was quote unquote wrong or not accepted or whatever it was. And so this idea of mentally rehearsing ahead of time in a positive way takes so much energy, but is so hard, but is like almost what she has found helps her because eventually, right? Like eventually she's starting to retrain the tape. And so she starts having more positive, experiences, and that reinforces itself.
Yeah. I see this one's definitely a double-edged sword for me. Because like I do actually see what she's saying and how this could be really, really helpful. The challenge that I'm going to have with it is keeping track of my thoughts because I don't necessarily have those internal thoughts.
Right.
I can replay something in my head that is not my own original thought.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can watch a movie and I have this one line that just like I keep repeating over and over and over again in my head and I can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
So then I would have to like probably, my thought was like, if I was going to do this, I'd have to come up with a script beforehand and then have that script written somewhere so I don't forget it.
Yeah.
In like radical acceptance, right? Like I had to write that down on everything for the longest time just so that I could like look at it and remember it and try to, okay, radically accept, radical acceptance. Like,
yeah.
And it does. It is true. Like this idea of the rehearsal, like for those of you who are new to this podcast, when I say like the high kick, I literally, like when I was learning how to radically accept things, I would rehearse this. I would say, I would joke about the idea that like, people could come over to my band. It would be a really wicked metal band called Radical Acceptance. Like, oh, we're Radical Acceptance and we're here to rock your socks off. And then I would actually physically high kick. And that like physical like motion of kicking and that rehearsal really like it just like got into me and just gave me a little bit of dopamine and like shifted things. So I guess, I can see how this could actually be helpful.
Whoa.
I know. 180 that we're doing right now, Michelle.
What happened?
Well, okay. I got curious.
You got curious. Yeah. And I think that's what's so hard too about getting curious. It's hard to be curious sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially when it's emotional.
Let's be real. Like my initial instinct when we pre-gamed this and I was just like, I don't get this. No, I'm not going to do this. Like my brain hurts thinking Michelle, about it. Why are we talking about it? And Michelle, you were like, could we just be curious for other people? And I was like, fine, bring in the other people, Michelle. Make me think about like, oh, I need to be thoughtful of others. Like, it's not all about me. So then, but now that we're talking about it and I didn't feel any pressure to perform, I was like, wait a second, I do this. Oh my God. Stupid.
You're like, I'm not your monkey. Whatever.
That's your monkey.
So she says this thing in the book that I thought was sort of interesting. And I think you do this a lot, actually. I don't think you would say it in this way, but she's like, the process that one of the clients she had went through was like shifting from like emotional thoughts to sort of these cognitive steps, like making things more about the process. Okay, like what do I need to do to be successful with this, right? Or how am I going to make, like changing it from like, oh my God, the dishes are my nemesis to like, what do I need to do as my one step? And I think you do this process quite a lot now. I don't know that you did before, but I do think you do this a lot. And I think it has helped you. I just think you don't rehearse a whole day like she does, or like, she's rehearsing from 8 to 12 or whatever, all the things she has to do in her day. I don't think that's your process, but I think it's interesting that you do this on some way.
But she has appointments, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, actually that does make sense if like she's got appointments. And so she's like, okay, especially like, I know like how hard it can be to stay on task for an appointment. So like you're rehearsing like, okay, I'm going to look at the clock around, I'm going to have the clock in this certain place and I'm going to keep an eye on it. And like, I'm going to talk to the person and this is how I'm going to wrap it up. Like I could see rehearsing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I have these appointments, but I have this amount of time that I can do. And so like, what am I going to do during that like 1 hour that I actually have? So yeah, I can see that being really useful for some people.
And I feel like you do that. You just do it on a whiteboard. You like whiteboard out your day sometimes when when you guys think to do it.
Yeah, so that's always the key. When you think to do it.
I'm not saying that as a judgment. I just mean to say like you say that a lot. Like, sometimes we forget to do it,
And this is the challenge I have with any of these techniques is that like it's like it's such a lovely idea to rehearse, But then this idea of rehearsal feels so gigantic to me and so pressure filled that like if I don't remember to do it each day, does that make the day bad?
No.
But see,
I think it's just a tool in your toolbox that you didn't use that day.
But you're a neurotypical person who's like, yeah, of course it doesn't. Your butler's like, sure, it's fine. And my drill sergeant's like, you're a terrible person, Megan. And I can't believe I don't know why he got a scraggly voice, but I like it.
Yeah.
You're a terrible person and you didn't do the rehearsing.
He's a smoker. That's the problem. He needs to stop smoking. Oh my God. All right. Well, I think that you are combating the butler though by rehearsing. You are rehearsing. You're just doing mini rehearsals.
I probably am. No, I
think you're doing a mini.
Yeah, like saying I'm gonna. I actually do visualize myself putting the cups in the dishwasher.
What?
Yeah, because like we've talked about this, right?
Well, no, you told me you have nothing internal going on in your brain ever, and that you never visualize anything ever before this podcast.
Okay, so I guess we found that I need to be more curious myself during these podcasts. Okay, but here's the thing. So remember, there was one we were talking about, like where you were asking me, like, if I were to tell you, Megan, to like cook dinner, fold the towels, and do these things, like, how would you go about that? And I do visually see things, and I was telling you, like, I see pictures. I see things in pictures, and so like if I like the idea that we're gonna have to move again in 6 months, and I don't know what the house looks like that we're going to have to move to. And so that is super hard for me because I'm like, I can't visualize myself there. I can't like walk myself through. And it's true. Like, okay, I do this a lot actually. So if I'm okay, so if I'm like, whatever we have to pack, like I'm visually like walking through, okay, what do I have to pack in my house? And then where am I going to put it? And okay, fine. So I do this a lot.
Oh my God. I love it so much.
Maybe it's that I just don't feel pressure. Because like we were like, okay, Megan, maybe this one isn't yours. And so like, maybe that's just what I have to come with. I have to come with the fact that like, there's no pressure on me.
No.
To like perform. But see, that's the thing. Okay.
Yeah.
If like, again, I'm going to go back to it because there's something there and I haven't quite figured it out yet. But like, if I have this rehearsal and like, that is a tool, but it doesn't have to be like the only tool.
No.
So it might be like, hey, if I get to a point like, oh, okay. Beep, 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 beep. In the theater, I'm going to take this back for a second, Michelle. Just go on the train with me. In the theater, we got all of these, and I say toolbox people because like we got all of these different techniques that we were given, and they just like would just lay out different techniques all the time. And I didn't understand it. And then by my third year, I was finally like, oh, they're just giving us a whole bunch of techniques to figure out which technique we need to use on a regular basis. Like, 90% of the time, what technique, like we're going to have 3 to 5 techniques that we use all the time.
Right.
But in that 10% of the time that you run into some work that is really challenging for you, I now have a whole toolbox that I have practiced and tried to see if any of those tools might work for this 10% time period.
Yeah.
And so
that
like
makes sense.
Rehearsal to me seems like one of those where like it's not going to be the one that I use every single day, but like if I'm having struggle with something, I might go back and say, okay, like could I use rehearsal in this moment? Would it help me? And the answer might be hell no. Or the answer might be, of course, who knows? Or like maybe a little bit, but like, it's like, but that's the pressure for me that I want to make sure, like, as we're talking about this, that I'm not, if I was just listening to us talk about this, I would feel pressure to rehearse all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
And think like, My
You would take it
solution,
to the logical, illogical conclusion. Yes,
extreme.
of course.
Yeah.
Extremes. Yes.
And so
Yes.
I think it's important for me to say this out loud for my own brain and
but
for
everyone
others
else too. Anyone else that might feel that way. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, what's interesting as you're saying it is, I think that's such an important point. And I didn't realize until this moment you were feeling like every single thing we were talking about was something you were supposed to be using all the time.
Yeah.
So now I know that. That is new information.
It's new information for me too. Like, I
Okay.
mean, I think I internally knew it, but I didn't know how to verbalize it.
Right.
And it's kind of all, it's all coming back. It's all coming back to me now. Yep. I think we're figuring it out, Michelle.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so curious if there's anybody else in our community who feels anything specific around adulting that they want to talk to us about.
Or dancing through your day.
And if you have any thoughts about the rehearsing component, like if it would work for you or you don't think it would. I guess I did want to kind of close this because I do feel like this book was a journey.
Yes.
And I do want to be appreciative of Tamara for putting the book together and allowing us to visit her way of navigating through ADHD and being open and honest about it, and for all the clients that agreed to be in the book and give their examples, because it gave us a lot of fodder to discuss, right, of things. And it pushed us, I think. It pushed us in this podcast to, at least push me, I think, to figure out how to make that safe space and how important it is to make that safe space for anybody in your life who has ADHD, that if you can stay curious, that is not a simple thing, and it's not easy always, and your own demons and your own mind fields and feelings around it, are going to be there. But I just wanted to take that moment to say that I was grateful, and a shout out to Tamara Rosier, PhD.
Hey,
I got it down finally. And I just want to thank you for also being on the journey with me through this book, because I think it's actually quite a difficult one to read. And it's a difficult one to process. I mean, I literally scripted almost every word she said because she had such little gems along the way. But I think it was an important one for us to go through.
And I think it's really, I love the work that she's done, and I'm super appreciative. And I think we all know that I have been pushed a lot by Tamara Rosier.
Yes.
But what it's really helped me is that, like, the gems are so important, and the package in which those gems are delivered, I'm realizing, is so vital. Right? She's I think part of the challenge that I've had with this process is that, like, her package is very specific to herself. And I'm so grateful that for her that it works for her, because then she was able to do all this research and get it out there. And that, like, when we're trying to break this stuff down, it's more important to find the emotional nugget or the process driven nugget or whatever. Like, we're still working our way to that. But I go back to what Taryn said about, I found it sounds like what we're doing is we're finding for sleep this little thing that is, it's engaging enough my brain. It stimulates me just enough, but not too much that I can still fall asleep. And in that little succinct moment, it's like, I now know my task. My task for sleep is to find something that provides a little bit of stimulation, but nothing more that won't make me fall asleep. And then in knowing that, like, that's my task, I can then try a bunch of different tools. And I think that Tamara has given us so much information and nuggets to kind of work on to start developing our tasks. Like, the things that, like, we need, like, the goal is to find the tool that solves this problem.
Yeah. And defining what that problem is in a succinct way. I'm with you on that. I think, obviously Taryn's a mathematician, so that's her job, right? Is to, like, make things super succinct. So we'll just have to get her to make us our tasks.
That's what mathematicians do? Oh.
Yeah.
They just like
they try to use as few words as possible to try to make something like, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so we'll just have to talk to Tam. Like, we have to get our mathematician on this.
Yeah,
and
we will
can make
for all of our tasks. Yeah, we'll find out if she's got some more gems for us.
It is an equation, basically. Like, if you think about it, like me, like, okay, the idea of like, I got to clean the dishes, right? That's the outcome. That's the equals. And like, what are the processes? Like, what's the A plus B that's going to equal the outcome? Yeah. So we're not looking to have the outcome. We're looking to like find the A plus B so that we can create the equation of life.
And on that, mic drop.
Mic drop.
The equation of life.
The equation of life. So esoteric.
I love it so much.
Abstruse.
I love you, Maggie.
I love you too.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Spicy Brain Podcast, brought to you by Spicy Brain Studios. We've officially wrapped up Your Brain Is Not Broken by Tamara Rosier. Woo! And we are so glad that you have been on this journey with us. Next up, we're going to be deciding between a book on parenting with ADHD or possibly a book on sleep and how it affects ADHD. So let us know what you'd love to hear us dive into next. Make sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And if you're enjoying the show, leaving us a review really helps other neurospicy folks find their way here too. But until then, here's to a great end of the week. Remember to stay curious.
And joyful.
Radical acceptance. High kick. So dumb.
Tell Mother yes, a rotisserie chicken would be lovely. I need to put off my notifications.
Oh, seriously.
Seriously.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.